Welcome to Eidolon Hunting 101 with your guest,
Smushy. That's me. Hello, I'm Smashley. And today we're going to be teaching you guys about how to kill the big giant tree monster thingies, right? Or something? I don't know. Maybe giant tree monsters that, shoot back giant lasers and things and stuff and all the other stuff. So, welcome on in, everybody. If you guys are watching on YouTube, we are broadcasting this live on Twitch right now. So if I mess up, then, just be like,
good job, Smashley. You really did good.
So, to get started on hunting Eidolons, keep in mind that Eidolon hunting is a late game item in Warframe. So, please make sure that you guys are ready for that. It is not something that you want to do early on in Warframe. You actually need to be further on into the planets. So, for instance, to get started on Eidolon hunting, you actually need to be done with the second Dream Quest, War Within, and Saya's Vigil. Without those done, you are not going to be able to hunt Eidolons. Now, you can get carried in groups by other people who have done these quests, but keep in mind, to be effective at hunting Eidolons, you do need to have those 3 quests done. Once you complete Saya's Vigil, which is the quest for Gara, you will get your very first amp, which is your moat amp. And if you guys want to see that, we're going to head over to our operator real fast. And over here on the amps, these are all the different amps that you'll have. So you'll actually start off with the moat amp. Now, basically what this does is this basically takes your operator's abilities and channels it into like a weapon. And without this, you're gonna have a really, really hard time hunting Eidolons because you need your operator mode to actually take down their shields. During the Eidolon fights, while their shields are up, you're basically using your operator 100%. With the moat amp, you get your first kind of amplification to your damage for your operators. Now, the moat amp is honestly,
It's shit. Let's be honest. It's poop. It's straight up poop.
so you're honestly gonna want to upgrade as soon as possible. But the problem is, to really upgrade, you have to kind of kill the Eidolons to get standing to upgrade. So, you kind of need to start with your moat amp. But a lot of other people in the game already have progressed far enough to where they can kind of carry you during the early phases and get you more standing easier. But don't be afraid to jump in with other people, even if you only have a moat amp. We all have to start somewhere. So if you're running with your moat amp, awesome. If you're looking to upgrade and do more damage to the shields, I do recommend either going with a 323 amp or a 223 amp to really take down the Eidolon shields. And I'll get more into getting more efficient later. If you're going to be hunting Eidolons, there are certain frames that are honestly needed. If you guys are out there in YouTube and going,
What do I bring? I'm so lost.
well, the good news is that there's a couple frames that most people have that are welcome in almost every Eidolon fight. First and foremost, you have your DPS frames. So you're pretty much kind of limited down for DPS frames as Chroma or Rhino. So when you're hunting the Eidolons, most of the DPS frames that you're used to using won't work. Eidolons are basically immune to all abilities, whether that's debuffs, damage, etc. So your entire party composition when you're fighting Eidolons needs to be anything that self-buffs yourself or your party. When you're looking at doing DPS or being the DPS person for your party, Chroma or Rhino, because they have really, really high buffs for increasing your party's damage. Now, this only takes place after the Eidolon shields are down, but the one thing that Chroma does offer over Rhino is keeping your party more protected. So while Rhino can actually dish out more damage by just a bit, Chroma can actually help protect your party a little bit more with not only his max armor, but his elemental ward as well. So both of those two abilities are basically what you're looking at to use for Chroma. If you are looking for builds on either Chroma or Rhino, just make sure you're going with very high strength builds. This is the current build I use for taking down Eidolons. Keep in mind my arcanes here are not the ones I normally use, but this is what we typically use when we're going to take down Eidolons. You can do better. Of course, this is just a generic build. the other thing you want to make sure you do as Chroma or Rhino is make sure you are always alive. Pretty easy to do with both of them, but basically just make sure you're always alive. If you are bringing Chroma, make sure under your appearance that you use some sort of energy color that results in cold. This will increase your armor and make you way more tanky. It looks like it's actually nighttime right now. And that's going to be your first thing, by the way, when you're going to hunt Eidolons. They only show up at nighttime. So you have 50 minutes to kill either your first Eidolon, 3 Eidolons, or as many as you can. Keep in mind, you can only kill 3 Eidolons, the Terry, Gary, and Harry, in a single session before you have to leave the plains and come back in. All you have to do is leave and go right back in and you can start all over. So we actually have a pre-set up squad here of some of the frames that you do want to bring to really effectively take down Eidolons. I'm going to be playing the DPS role with Chroma. Like I said, you can also choose Rhino here. Zio is going to be playing the Protector role as Haro. You can also use Oberon or Oberon Prime or Limbo for this mode. Basically, his role in this fight is going to be protecting us from the magnetic damage. Lysander is going to be playing a highly critical role as Volt. Where does Volt come in late game? This is one of the roles where Volt is almost needed. Volt basically will help you take down the Eidolon shields so much faster by increasing your crit chance when you fire through the shields. And then last but not least, a role that is almost needed in every Eidolon fight is Trinity. You can use Oberon slightly for this, but it is much harder to do. Trinity is the much more preferable choice for this, but basically Trinity is going to be keeping us alive as well as, and here's the key, the lures. The lures are like little NPC pods that are going to be coming around with us to help us capture the Eidolon and get basically different rewards. Without a Trinity or a healing frame of some sort, you will lose lures. If you are bringing a Trinity on this role, go for high duration and high strength. You really need to make sure your blessing is not only protecting the lures and your teammates, but it lasts a long time. It's basically a blessing Trinity. For Volt, you want to go with really high duration, so your shields stay up for a while. And Haro, honestly, it's going to be pretty easy for the build. You don't need too much duration. Actually, too much can hurt you. It's pretty easy with Haro, and the Haro is pretty nice. Broberon is actually useful in these fights, so it's pretty awesome. So, we have our team together. Like I said, make sure you do have Saya's Vigil and you have your amp equipped. And we're actually going to get out there. Now, the other thing that is very useful in these fights before we get out there is having an Arcwing. I do recommend having Itzal. If you don't have Itzal, you can get it from your dojo. But I do recommend having Itzal. Having an Arcwing and Arcwing charges is super helpful. Because the planes are big. And the biggest waste of time that you have is just getting around the plains. All right, so we are actually going to head over to Earth. You can start and see this, but we're actually just going to drop right into the plains of Eidolon because it's already nighttime, and let's go actually hunt some Eidolons. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section. I would try my best to answer them. Oh, look, it's raining. Now my chroma is, just wet. All right. So the very first thing you can do is you can kind of spot where the Eidolon is going to appear as soon as you get into the plains. If you look over there, there's a bright blue spot where he is spawning in, way over there. So you can kind of spot it right when you get into the plains, and that's where he's going to be. I totally forgot Arcwing charges. Somebody dropped me one, Dark. I still have all my gear equipped from when we did the Kuba Survival 8-hour run, which is also on YouTube. So if you guys want to check that out, please do. So this is typically where I go to grab the first lure. There's usually one right over here. Looks like somebody already got it. Keep in mind, you'll see that your teammates may be grabbing lures. There's usually another one that spawns right up here. So we're going to head up here real fast and grab this one. For weapons, your number one choice for weapons is going to be anything that's very high damage and has radiation damage. So you can bring mostly any sniper rifles. A lot of people ask, when do sniper rifles come into play in Warframe? And this is one of those things. So these are what the lures look like. You do need to shoot them before you hack them. And if you brought ciphers, you can just use the cipher really fast or hack them. It's really good use of ciphers, honestly, so you're not sitting there trying to hack things while your team is already fighting the Eidolon. So now that we have a lure, you'll notice that all of these are yellow charged. We need to actually get them basically fully charged. And you do that by killing the Vomilis. These are the little tiny Eidolons that float around. So our actual objective right now is either get one of these charged or go ahead and start fighting the Eidolon. But keep in mind, you need at least one charged next to the Eidolon before you take down its first phase. Otherwise, it's just going to teleport away, and you don't want that to happen because that's just a waste of time. And here's Terry. Hi, Terry. So you'll notice that when you look at him, he's completely invulnerable, but when you go into your operator form, you can actually see his shields here. We'll actually get started on that, but like I said, we gotta find some bomb list, and it'd be way easier if I had a friggin' arc wing. High crit does work, but it's not as effective as single shot high damage, honestly. And look, Vomalist! So you need 3 Vomalists to actually charge up the lure. So you can actually see one just went in there now. It's got 1 charge on it. There's the second, and there's the third, and it should turn blue. So now we have a fully charged lure. And this lure now, once we take down the first phase of the Eidolon, is actually going to be keeping it here and not getting away. Here is one pro tip. While the Eidolons are fighting us, keep in mind that it is going to be attacking you. So it'll do certain moves like this and a whole lot of other moves. In your Warframe, you are going to get hit by this. You are going to get hit by this. You're going to take damage, that sort of thing. You can avoid almost every bit of damage from the Eidolon by just going into your operator and crouching. Literally, this makes you avoid almost all of its energy moves. Like, you don't, you literally take no damage. Now, if you get stepped on, you'll still take damage. So let me... Okay, he's just not stepping on me right now. But you can still take damage from, like, if he swings at you and that sort of thing. But if you just literally crouch, you'll be just fine on actually avoiding most of the damage. So, if you're playing Volt in these runs, the very first thing you want to do is get some shields that are close enough to the Eidolon to where your team can actually start using those to use their operator to shoot through those shields and take down the shields easier. Now, if you're using one of the 223 amps or 323 amps, you can use the middle mouse button and really start racking up damage. You can see occasionally I'll get 2,000 damage. And this is the only way to take down the shields, by the way. Now, you can shoot them regularly, not through the Volt shields. But it's way, 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 way easier with a Volt because you'll just amplify your operator damage. So, the really good part in these fights is when the shields are still up, you basically want to always be in your operator mode. Because if you go down your operator mode, you're just going to immediately be thrown back into your Warframe. Now, if you're playing Chroma or Rhino, when the shields start getting low, or even if beforehand, your main objective is to basically have your buff going already. Now, you'll notice that he flashed red. Once he flashes red, that means he is vulnerable on some of his limbs. So you'll see like his arms and his knees. Now, Terry only has 4 critical spots that you need to hit before he's dead, but the other 2 have 6 critical spots that you need to kill before the Eidolon is entirely dead. So, as Chroma, what I need to do is actually get my buff up. Now, you need to bring a self-damage weapon to really, really make this effective, and then get your Scorn maxed out. So right now, on this build, it's 736. Now, anybody in my party that's standing next to me is going to have a huge boost to their damage, but you should be able to basically one-shot most of its parts at this point. Now, this is the part where Haro comes in. Haro basically uses his ability here to protect us from this stuff. So you'll notice we're all invulnerable. Now we're not losing energy during these huge waves here. That's also where Oberon and Limbo can come in to help protect you during those parts. Basically, it's mostly to just keep you from losing energy, because you can avoid those entirely in operator mode and crouching. Alright, so at this point, we just need to take the shields out again. Now, keep in mind, if you're using a moat amp, this is going to go much slower. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but like I said, don't let anybody, like, you know, EPing you into not coming along to an Eidolon fight just because you have a moat amp. Also, I forgot to keep my buff going. So now I have to rebuff again. Alright, so you can see here I'm avoiding all the damage just by crouching here. Also, if you are in these fights, you'll notice that these little Vomalists are attacking the lures. You do need to kill them, or at least get them charged, like, take off their armor so they get charged into the lures. And so you'll notice our Volt is constantly throwing up shields, so we're constantly in range to hit him through the shields. And keep the buff going. Now, a really good thing you can do as Chroma is constantly refresh your buff as long as you have energy, because it will keep the existing buff going while you're doing that. So make sure you're doing that. Do the attacks differ with your amp? They do. It's one of the reasons why I recommend a 223 amp or a 323 amp and just use the middle mouse button when you're doing that. And with the right crew, you can really take down the shields really, really fast, as you can see here. Oops, wrong weapon. By the way, keep in mind, we typically go much, much faster, but I'm going slow to show you guys. So nighttime currently in this run has about 33 minutes left. Any Eidolon that you're currently fighting will despawn the moment that nighttime is over. So you do have a time limit on this. So here's a moment where basically you'd be taking a lot of radiation damage and losing your energy and that sort of thing. At this point, a lot of the Vomalists are going to be coming to try to buff the Terrorist. Do need to kill them, or at least get them charged into some of your lures, but for the most part, keep in mind that once their armor is gone, you have to kill them with your operator to truly kill them. Make sure you have at least 2 charged lures on Terry and 3 charged lures on the other 2 to fully capture them. Capturing them does give you different rewards, but the big thing is that it gives you better, better Eidolon shards and stuff. Also, can somebody drop me an Arcwing? Yay! So here's one of the reasons why you want to use Itzal. Itzal's 3 ability will help you grab the loot really, really fast with hitting 3. You can actually just come over here, hit 3, and suck up all the loot. And it helps you get to different spots much, much quicker. So, for instance, if we want to move on to fight the other Eidolons, we have to go to the lake over here. And you want to go to the center of the lake and plug in one of the shards that you just got. Now, keep in mind, this is going to use your brilliant Eidolon shard, but you should get it back as long as you kill the next Eidolon. All right, so as Chroma, my job here is to go ahead and get myself buffed so the party can have it ready to go, and then get ready for the next island. Usually they'll spawn right here or down over there. Anywhere basically along this lower end of the river. Now, if I was using a certain school, I'd be basically sitting here crouched and buffing up my damage, but I'm not. Alright. Oh, you already took down the shield. So, I'm working with a very efficient group that is basically like, you know, done this a bunch of times, and we've killed like 10 or 12 Eidolons in a single night cycle, so keep in mind, we're going to start moving a little bit faster now. What are some good self-damage weapons? I personally use Hiku Prime with concealed explosives. You can use things like Angstrom. I typically basically say bring any secondary weapon that has self-damage on it. I mean, hell, you could bring the lens if you really wanted to, but that's going to really hamper your damage against the Eidolon during this phase here. Now, keep in mind the visual clutter for these fights. As we get further on, it gets more and more and starts looking more and more crazy. But the fight all still progresses the same, so all you have to do is just during a lot of these phases crouch during them. You don't have to take damage through this. If you feel like you're taking too much damage, switch your operator and crouch. It's the easiest way to avoid all the damage and keep your team from having to revive you constantly. So like I said, my main job right here is keeping my buff up and then shooting the parts so my entire team can take them out. Sniper rifles are really, really useful in this. You can use Vectis Prime, you can use Lanka, you can use the Opticore. Opticore is really, really fun, but can kind of, the hitboxes on Opticore kind of mess up sometimes. I personally like the Rubico because I like firing fast, but sometimes it does take me multiple shots to kill him. Basically, whichever one you like, but just make sure you have radiation damage. Radiation damage is the key. The other thing you can do is, like, in this group, I don't typically keep my my elemental ward going, but it can help protect your party a lot in these fights. So you don't have to if you have a really good group, but it's really good to do that if you're in a starting group and you feel like everybody's dying too easily. But if you're basically playing Trinity in this sort of setup, you basically need to keep your bless going almost all the time. This is one of the different spots on the Eidolon. You can see he has like 2 little shoulder pads that are new on the second Eidolons. Okay. And once we're done killing these, I'm going to show you guys how to actually get new parts for your operator and how to get a better amp. So you can see how this starts getting faster and faster and you get much, much better at it. But like I said, having a better amp is like, if you're wondering how to get better at the Eidolon fights, getting a better amp is like the #1 priority for you. Shooting him in the head here is usually beneficial, and also shooting through the shields can help you really amp up your damage. Now, another thing you can do is, if your entire team agrees to do so, if you all bring corrosive projection, you can actually not have the armor on the Eidolons. Now, that does remove the need for radiation damage, so you may not want to do that if everybody's bringing radiation damage. But if you just want to bring any high damage weapon at that point, you can do that if everybody brings corrosive projection. Or at least 3 people bring corrosive projection with the amplification aura. Don't plug in. Oh, you already did. Can you take it back, Lysander? Okay, yeah, I'm actually gonna go show them how to upgrade stuff, because the next fight is exactly the same as this one. Normally, we would basically come over here, plug in our stuff over here, and start up the very last fight. But I want to show you guys how to upgrade stuff. And then basically, if we killed the next one, your next step after that would just be to restart and like basically head over here like we're doing here, exit Cetus, and then enter right back if you guys want to get started again. Now, the Adarza Kavat no longer works with operators for the crit buff, so a lot of people used to use that, and it no longer works for that. Now, in Cetus, if you guys are looking to upgrade your amp, you basically come over to this door. Now, keep in mind, you can't enter this door without your operator, so you need to switch to your operator to actually come in here, and then you come over here and talk to Uncle. He's your uncle. Okay, so here's the really good thing. Basically, you'll start to level up your syndicate with the quills, and you'll get access to more of the different like braces and stuff to craft better amps. Now, when you're doing this, keep in mind that you can trade in all these different cores that you just got for killing the Eidolons for standing, and it becomes really, really, really quick to level these up. Like, honestly, if you kill all 3 in a single night cycle, you should have enough to hit getting closer to your cap. It's pretty easy to start leveling this up once you're at least able to start fighting them. Now, once you are getting the quill standing up further, and you guys heard me talking about 323 amps and 223 amps, it's basically just the tier of different amps that you're getting. So the single ones, so the Replac, the Pincha, the Callpack, these here are the tier 2 amps. So even if you just get to tier 2 and you make a 222 amp, it's still pretty good, and it's way, way better than your Moat amp. The reason why it's always like the 2-3 amp is because the third amp, or the third brace, basically will increase your chance of critical hits, and it combines really, really well with the Trakeson Scaffold. This has the highest crit chance, so when you combine the two, you get a really, really high crit chance, which in turn combines with Volt Shields to give you even higher crit chance. It's one of the reasons why you go with 323 or 223. So basically, you can do the Schwach, the Trakeson, and the Low Embrace, or you can go with the Grandmill, Trakeson, and Low Embrace, and that's pretty much the standard for taking down Eidolon shields fast. If you're looking to get arcanes from this, Virtuous Strike is the ones you really want to add on these. It really, like, you're just like, okay, that's a lot of damage. Those are really, really good too, as well as Magus Elevate. Magus Elevate is one of the, it's good. Let me just say it's really good. And then once you actually get and craft your different parts for your amp you want to put together, keep in mind, once you get your amp to level 30, you do want to guild it. It makes it way more powerful once you guild it. And basically, it's kind of like forming your amp, but it just makes it more powerful. Some of you guys are asking what focus schools to focus on for Eidolon hunting. So you have a few options, but really it's only down to 3 different schools. If you do not have any of the major schools like Matarai leveled up, Matarai is going to be the main one that you want to focus on. At least going with Zenuric will help your team out with energy. So if you want to go with Energy Pulse and Energizing Dash, really, really, really helpful to keep your team's energy up. The main one that I would recommend is going with Matarai and wholly focusing on getting Void Strike maxed out. This will absolutely amplify your damage on the Eidolons during the shield phase, which is the longest phase. It's what most people use with the 223 amp or the 33 amp. Using this school will basically speed up your Eidolon fights exceptionally fast. The other one that you can use is Unaru. Using the Unaru Wisp, it does require a little bit more, I guess, activation to get this working, and you'll have to just melee the Eidolon for a bit to get this to pop out. But it can really at max rank increase your Eidolon damage as well. Especially if one of the people on your squad is also running Matarai, they can pick this up as well, and you can increase your entire party's operator damage.
Gesture.
So it's really good to have this as well. But honestly, if you just had all 4 of you running Matarai, really helps. If you don't have any of these other schools leveled up, another option you can pick is Vazarin. Honestly, picking up Mending Soul will at least allow you to bring your teammates back really fast. It's probably the least option you want to choose besides Naramon. Naramon's going to be fairly useless in the Eidolon fights, but honestly, mostly focus on Matarai. Well, if you guys are watching on YouTube, if you guys are tuning in on the VOD, that is pretty much
Eidolons 101. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.